The morning sky above New York burned with unnatural light as massive shadows blocked out the sun. Admiral Rex of the Galactic Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the destroyer, watching Earth grow larger through the viewport. His purple skin gleamed under the ship's lights as he prepared for what should be an easy victory. "This primitive world will fall in minutes," Rex told his officers. Behind him, thousands of warships filled the darkness of space. Each vessel carried enough firepower to crack a moon in half. The Empire had conquered over 300 worlds using this same fleet. On Earth, people stopped their daily routines to stare at the sky. Children pointed at the strange ships, while their parents grabbed phones to record the historic moment. News channels across the planet switched to emergency broadcasts. In the Pentagon, General Brown watched the radar screens fill with red dots. "How many ships are we looking at?" Brown asked his aide, Captain Stone. "Our computers stopped counting at 10,000. "Sir?" Stone replied, his voice tight with worry. President Davis sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by his top advisors. The Secretary of Defense, Miller, spoke first. "Mr. President, we need to consider surrender. Our weapons are nothing compared to what's up there." Davis shook his head. "Not yet. We need to see what they want first." Above the planet, Rex activated the communication ray. His voice boomed across every radio, television, and speaker on Earth. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Rex of the Galactic Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately, and we will allow some of you to live as our slaves. Resist, and we will turn your planet into ash." The message was clear and simple. Rex had given this same speech to hundreds of worlds. Most surrendered within hours. The smart ones gave up without a fight. In homes across Earth, families huddled together. Some prayed, others cried. But many just waited, watching the news for their government's response. The world held its breath. President Davis stepped before the cameras in the White House press room. His words were calm but firm. "To the beings threatening our world, humanity has one response. We do not surrender. We do not bow. And we protect our home." Rex laughed when he heard the transmission. "Foolish creatures. They choose death over wisdom." He turned to his weapons officer, Commander Vex. "Begin the bombardment. Show them the power of the Empire." But before Vex could press the firing controls, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. "Sir," shouted the sensor operator, Lieutenant Pike, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface." "Impossible," Rex snarled. "Their technology is centuries behind ours." "What kind of energy?" Pike's face went pale as he read his instruments. "Sir, the readings are. They're off the charts. I've never seen anything like this. On Earth's surface, hidden facilities that had been secret for decades suddenly came to life. Deep underground, in places that didn't appear on any map, ancient machinery hummed with power. These were not human-built devices. They were much older, left behind by visitors who had come to Earth long ago. Dr. Hayes stood in one of these hidden bunkers, her hand on a control panel that seemed to be made of living crystal. "Are you sure about this?" she asked the tall figure beside her. The being was humanoid, but clearly not human. His skin had a silver sheen, and his eyes glowed with soft blue light. "Your species has grown strong enough," he said in perfect English. "It is time to activate the defenses we left for you. How long have you been watching us?" Hayes asked. "Since your kind first looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them," the being replied. "We knew that one day others would come to take your world. We could not interfere directly, but we could prepare you for this moment." Around the globe, similar scenes played out in 12 different locations. Humans who had been contacted years ago by these mysterious guardians now stood ready to defend their world with technology beyond imagination. Rex watched his sensor displays with growing alarm. The energy levels are still rising. Where is it coming from? Multiple locations across the planet, sir, Pike reported. It's like the entire world is powering up some kind of weapon system. That's impossible. Rex roared. Our intelligence reports showed they barely have nuclear weapons. They shouldn't be capable of... His words were cut off as the first beam of pure energy lanced up from Earth's surface. It struck one of his smaller ships, and the vessel simply vanished. Not destroyed, just gone, as if it had never existed. Rex stared in shock as more beams began firing from the planet below. Each one found its mark with impossible accuracy. All ships' evasive maneuvers. He screamed into his communicator, but it was already too late. Asterisk. The first wave of Earth's defensive systems tore through the Imperial Fleet like a hot knife through butter. Admiral Rex watched in horror as his mighty warships were reduced to nothing more than glowing particles in space. The beams of energy that rose from Earth moved faster than his ships could dodge. Shields at maximum. Rex ordered, but his voice shook with fear he had never felt before. Commander Vex worked frantically at his station. Sir, our shields are useless. These weapons are cutting through them like they're made of paper. On Earth, Dr. Hayes watched the battle through the crystal display in her bunker. The silver-skinned guardian stood beside her, his expression calm. Your people learn quickly, he said. The defense grid is responding to human operators better than we expected. How is this possible? Hayes asked, her hands still on the strange controls that seemed to read her thoughts. Your species has something we lost long ago, the Guardian replied. The ability to act on instinct. These weapons work best when guided by emotion and determination, not just logic. Across the planet, 11 other humans were having the same experience. In a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, a former Air Force pilot named Jack guided energy beams with the precision of a fighter ace. In a facility hidden under the Sahara Desert, a woman named Lisa destroyed 3 Imperial cruisers in as many seconds. The weapons were unlike anything in human experience. They didn't just destroy ships. They unmade them, breaking them down to their basic atoms and scattering them harmlessly into space. No explosions, no debris, just sudden absence where mighty warships had been moments before. Admiral Rex tried to maintain control as his fleet dissolved around him. All ships retreat to safe distance. Form defensive formation. But there was no safe distance. The beams from Earth could reach anywhere in the solar system. As his ships tried to pull back, more energy lances found their targets. In 10 minutes, Rex had lost over half his fleet. Lieutenant Pike's voice cracked as he reported the losses. Sir, we've lost 5,000 ships. The beams are tracking us no matter how we move. That's impossible. Rex slammed his fist against his command chair. No primitive world should have this kind of power. On the planet's surface, President Davis stood in a secure bunker, watching the battle through military satellites. General Brown stood beside him, equally amazed. Mr. President, I've never seen anything like this. Where did these weapons come from? I'm not sure I want to know right now, Davis replied. As long as they're on our side, the truth was more complex than either man could imagine. The Guardians had visited Earth thousands of years ago, during humanity's early development. They had watched from afar as humans grew from simple farmers to space-dreaming explorers. The weapons they left were not just tools, they were tests. Only a species that had developed true courage and unity could activate the defense grid. The weapons required operators who would fight not for conquest, but for protection of their home and loved ones. Humanity had passed this test without even knowing it existed. In his ship high above Earth, Rex made a desperate decision. All remaining ships, prepare for planetary bombardment. If we can't conquer this world, we'll destroy it completely. The order sent a chill through his surviving crew. Planetary destruction was the Empire's ultimate threat, reserved for worlds that proved too dangerous to occupy. Rex had never used it before, but his pride and fear drove him to extremes. Commander Vex hesitated at his weapons console. "Sir, that's over 4 billion lives, ... They chose to resist." Rex roared. "Now they pay the price. Fire all weapons." 3,000 Imperial ships turned their massive cannons toward Earth. Combined firepower was enough to crack the planet's crust and boil away its oceans. Rex smiled grimly as he watched the weapons charge up, but the Guardians had prepared for this possibility. Too, Dr. Hayes felt the crystal panel grow warm under her hands. The Guardian's voice was urgent now. "They're preparing to destroy your world. You must activate the final defense." "What final defense?" Hayes asked. "The one that will end this threat forever," the Guardian replied. "But be warned, once activated, there is no going back. Every hostile ship in this star system will be eliminated." Hayes thought of her daughter, safe in a bunker somewhere in Colorado. She thought of all the children on Earth who deserved a chance to grow up under their own sky. Her decision was easy. "Do it," she said, dot around the globe. 12 human operators pressed their hands against 12 crystal panels. The defense grid that had been impressive before now revealed its true power. The Imperial Fleet never got to fire a single shot. Asterisk. The moment 12 human hands pressed against 12 crystal panels, space around Earth erupted with deadly light. But this was different from the precise beams that had been picking off Imperial ships one by one. This was something far more terrible and absolute. Admiral Rex watched his tactical display in growing terror as every ship in his fleet, all 3,000 remaining vessels, was suddenly outlined in brilliant blue energy. "What is that?" he whispered. Commander Vex stared at his instruments in disbelief. "Sir, some kind of energy field has surrounded every hostile ship simultaneously. I don't understand how—" He never finished the sentence. The blue energy contracted, and 3,000 Imperial warships simply ceased to exist. No explosions, no death cries over the communication channels, no debris fields. One moment the greatest fleet in galactic history hung in space around Earth, and the next moment there was only empty darkness and distant stars. Rex found himself alone on his bridge, his crew gone, his ship's systems dead. Emergency lighting flickered weakly, and the only sound was his own ragged breathing. Somehow, impossibly, he was still alive. On Earth, Dr. Hayes staggered back from the crystal panel, which had gone dark and cold. "What happened? Why am I still here?" The Silver Guardian looked older somehow, as if the activation had drained him. The defense grid is programmed to preserve one survivor from any attacking force. Someone must carry the warning back to others who might threaten this world. "Warning?" Hayes asked. "That humanity is under protection. That Earth is not as defenseless as it appears." In bunkers around the globe, 11 other operators were asking the same questions. The massive weapons that had torn apart the Imperial Fleet were powering down, returning to their hidden sleep. Soon, there would be no trace they had ever existed, except for the empty space where an entire armada had been moments before. President Davis stood in his command center, staring at satellite feeds that showed clear skies for the first time in hours. "General Brown, get me a full report. How many enemy ships remain?" "Sir," Brown said, his voice filled with awe, "according to our sensors, there's only one ship left. Everything else is just ... gone." Admiral Rex sat alone in his crippled flagship, trying to understand what had happened to his mighty fleet. His proud warship, the Destroyer, was now nothing more than a powerless hulk drifting in Earth's orbit. Life support was failing, weapons were offline, and his communication systems could barely send a weak signal. He activated his personal log, his voice hollow with defeat. "This is Admiral Rex of the Imperial First Fleet. We have suffered total annihilation. The humans possess weapons beyond our understanding. The entire invasion force has been eliminated in a matter of minutes. Rex paused, staring out at the blue marble that was Earth. It looked so peaceful, so innocent. No one would believe that such a beautiful world could destroy the Empire's greatest fleet so easily. Any Imperial forces receiving this transmission, consider this an official warning. Do not approach the system designated as Sol. The species calling themselves humans are not the primitives our intelligence reports suggested. They have technology that makes our most advanced weapons look like toys. On the planet below, the Guardians began their final preparations to leave. Their job was done. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the gift they had left behind, and more importantly, they had shown they would use that gift only to defend their home. Dr. Hayes found herself outside, her bunker as the facility sealed itself automatically. The entrance vanished, leaving only natural-looking rock and soil. "Will we see you again?" She called out to the Guardian, the silver being smiled, his form already becoming translucent. "When your people are ready to walk among the stars as protectors rather than conquerors, we will be waiting. How will we know when we're ready?" Hayes asked. "You'll know," the Guardian replied as he faded from sight. Similar scenes played out at the 11 other hidden locations. The Guardians departed as quietly as they had watched over humanity for millennia, leaving behind only the memory of their presence and the knowledge that Earth was no longer defenseless. Admiral Rex managed to restore basic communications and sent out a distress signal. It would take months for any Imperial ship to reach his location, and by then, his life support would have failed. But the message would survive, carried back to Imperial space by automated systems. The Empire had sent their greatest fleet to conquer a primitive world, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had learned that sometimes the most dangerous enemies are those who fight not for conquest, but for survival. Rex's final log entry was brief. The humans did not seek this war. We brought it to them. What happened here is not their fault, it is ours. We underestimated not their technology, but their spirit. The age of human isolation was over. 3 months after the battle, Earth was a changed world. The governments of every nation had formed the United Earth Defense Council, sharing technology and resources like never before. But the most important changes were happening in secret, in the same 12 locations where the Guardians' weapons had awakened. Dr. Hayes stood in what looked like an ordinary field in Montana, but she could feel the power sleeping beneath her feet. The crystal panels were gone, but the connection remained. Sometimes, late at night, she could sense the vast network of defenses that lay hidden around the globe. "Any word from the other sites?" asked Colonel West, the military liaison assigned to work with the 12 operators. "They're all reporting the same thing," Hayes replied. "The systems are learning from us, adapting to human thought patterns. It's like they're becoming more human every day." This was not entirely comforting news. The weapons that had destroyed the Imperial fleet were growing stronger, more responsive to human emotion and instinct. The Guardians had built them to be tools, but they were becoming something more. In space, Admiral Rex's crippled ship continued its slow orbit around Earth. His distress beacon had finally been answered. 3 Imperial rescue vessels approached cautiously, their crews terrified by the reports they had received. Captain Horn of the rescue ship, Mercy, opened a communication channel with Rex's vessel. "Admiral, this is Captain Horn. We're here to extract you, but our orders are to maintain maximum distance from the planet." Rex's weak voice came through the static. "Understood, Captain. But before we leave, you need to hear what really happened here." The rescue operation took 6 hours. When Rex was finally aboard the Mercy, he looked like a broken man. His purple skin had faded to gray, and his once proud bearing was gone. He gathered Horn and his officers in the briefing room and told them the truth about Earth. "The humans didn't just defeat us," Rex said quietly. They erased us. 3,000 ships, gone in an instant. No battle, no struggle. Just ... nothing. Captain Horn found it hard to believe. Sir, with respect, no primitive world could possess such power. That's what we thought too, Rex replied. We were wrong. The humans have guardians, beings with technology beyond anything in the known galaxy. And they're not interested in conquest. They only care about protecting their world. Meanwhile, on Earth, the discovery of the hidden defense sites had led to other revelations. Archaeological teams, working with the 12 operators, had found evidence that the Guardians had visited Earth many times throughout human history. Ancient cave paintings showed silver-skinned figures watching over early humans. Egyptian hieroglyphs contained symbols identical to those found on the crystal control panels. President Davis met with the operators in a secure facility beneath. Washington, D.C., we need to understand what we're dealing with, he said. These weapons saved our world, but what happens if they decide we're a threat? Dr. Hayes spoke for the group. Mr. President, the systems respond to our intentions, not just our actions. As long as we use them only for defense, only to protect Earth and its people, they remain under our control. And if someone tries to use them for aggression? Asked General Brown. They shut down, replied Jack, the former pilot who had operated the Rocky Mountain site. I tested it myself. The moment I thought about using the weapons to attack another world, the connection went dead. This was both reassuring and troubling. The Guardians had built safeguards into their gift, but it meant humanity's greatest weapons could only be used defensively. Earth could protect itself, but it could never use the Guardian technology to conquer other worlds. Far across the galaxy, the Imperial High Command received Admiral Rex's report with shock and disbelief. The loss of their greatest fleet was a disaster that would reshape the balance of power. Among the galactic civilizations. Grand Admiral Kane, the Empire's supreme military commander, studied the tactical reports with growing concern. If the humans can do this to our forces, what's to stop them from launching their own expansion? According to Rex's final communication, sir, replied his aide, the humans seem interested only in defending their home system. They made no attempt to pursue or destroy his ship once their world was secure. Kane was not convinced. A species that can obliterate our finest fleet in minutes won't remain content with one star system forever. We need to warn the other galactic powers. Earth has become a threat that concerns us all. But Kane was wrong about humanity's intentions. On Earth, the 12 operators worked together to understand their new responsibility. They had been given the power to protect their world, and they took that duty seriously. The thought of using the Guardian weapons for conquest never seriously occurred to any of them. The galaxy was about to learn that the most dangerous species was not always the most aggressive. 1 year after the destruction of the Imperial Fleet, the galaxy had changed completely. News of Earth's defensive capabilities had spread to every civilized world, and the reaction was not what anyone had expected. Instead of fear and hostility, many species were curious. They wanted to meet the humans who had humbled the mighty empire without seeking to conquer anyone in return. Trade requests began arriving at Earth, along with diplomatic messages from civilizations that had never contacted humanity before. Dr. Hayes stood in the newly constructed Earth Diplomatic Center in Geneva, watching alien ambassadors from dozens of worlds walk through halls designed to accommodate species of every shape and size. The building itself was a marvel of cooperation between human engineering and technology. Gifts from visiting civilizations. Never thought I'd see the day, said Captain Stone, now serving as Earth's Director of Interstellar Relations. A year ago, we didn't even know we weren't alone. Now we're hosting dinner parties for beings from across the galaxy. The change had not been easy. Many humans struggled to accept that Earth was now part of a vast galactic community. Some feared that the aliens would eventually turn hostile, while others worried that humanity would lose its unique identity among the stars. But the Guardian's gift had made one thing clear. Earth's role was not to conquer or to hide, but to protect. The defensive systems had evolved over the months, becoming more sophisticated as they learned from their human operators. They could now detect hostile intent from ships light years away, giving Earth advance warning of any threat. More importantly, the systems had revealed their true purpose. They were not just weapons, they were teachers. Each of the 12 operators had gained knowledge about technologies that could help humanity grow and thrive among the stars without repeating the Empire's mistakes. In the former Imperial capital, Grand Admiral Kane sat in his office, reading reports from across their territory. The Empire was collapsing. Worlds that had been conquered centuries ago were declaring independence, knowing that the Empire no longer had the military strength to stop them. "Sir," said his aide, Commander Gray, "we've received another request from the Planetary Liberation Front. They want Earth's help in establishing a defensive network like the humans have." Kane laughed bitterly. "Everyone wants to be like Earth now. Everyone wants to be the defenders instead of the conquerors." The truth was that Earth's example had inspired a galactic revolution. Species that had been oppressed for generations were rising up, not to build their own empires, but to protect their homes and live in peace. The old order of conquest and domination was crumbling. On Earth, President Davis met with the 12 operators in their monthly council session. The group had become the planet's informal guardians, helping to guide humanity's role in galactic affairs. "The Free Worlds Alliance wants us to join them officially," Davis reported. "They're offering full membership and a seat on their governing council." Lisa, the operator from the Sahara facility, spoke first. "What do they want in return?" "Protection," Davis replied. "They want to know that Earth will defend them if the Empire tries to reconquer their worlds." The operators exchanged glances. This was the question they had been avoiding for months. The Guardian systems were designed to protect Earth, but could they be used to protect other worlds as well? Dr. Hayes felt the familiar warmth of the connection she shared with the hidden defense network. "I can feel them," she said quietly. "The systems." They single quotes eager, like they want to do more than just guard one world. Jack nodded in agreement. "I've been sensing the same thing. It's like the weapons were meant to be the beginning of something bigger." That night, Hayes walked alone in the Montana field where the Guardian facility lay hidden. As she placed her hand on the ground, she felt a presence she hadn't experienced since that terrible day when the Imperial Fleet had died. The silver-skinned Guardian materialized before her, his form more solid than it had been months ago. "You have learned well," he said. "Your species has passed every test we set for you." "There were tests?" Hayes asked. "The weapons were the first test. Would you use them only for defense? The knowledge we gave you was the second. Would you use it to build or to destroy? And now comes the final test." "What test?" The Guardian smiled. "Will you help others find the same strength you have found? Will you teach the galaxy that true power comes not from conquest, but from protection?" Hayes looked up at the stars, knowing that somewhere among them, species were fighting for their freedom, hoping for the chance to live in peace. She thought about humanity's long journey from primitive farmers to galactic defenders. "Yes," she said simply. The Guardian nodded and began to fade away. "Then our work here is complete. The galaxy has new protectors now." As the being vanished, Hayes felt the network of defenses around Earth pulse with new energy. But now, instead of being limited to one world, she could sense the potential for something much larger, a network that could protect any world that chose defense over aggression. Humanity had found its true purpose among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians of the peaceful. Asterisk.